side in secret. Nobody knows about it. You have to do your other regular work too to get tenure, and that is if you're in a teaching position. And even now, for UFO research in general, there's never really been any serious money involved in studying the subject for academics. There have been studies of the subject of UFOs, not of abductions, but of UFOs, that have gone on over the years. There was the University of Colorado, what's called the Condon Committee in the late 1960s. There was a few other studies done of it, but there's never really been any funding for academics through the National Science Foundation, for the National Endowment for the Humanities, for any. There's never been any normal funding to do a study of the subject by any scientists or medical professionals or anybody. That's just never happened as far as I can remember. And that's never going to happen. So whatever studies anybody does, the money has to come out of their own pockets, like it's come out of mine. And you can't imagine how much money I've spent just on transcripts. If I've looked at 1,100 different abduction events, and each one of these has to be transcribed. So I can't listen to tapes or all the time. You have to be able to read it quickly and all that.
Yeah.
And you can't remember them all, of course. And so it's cost me a small fortune just in transcripts, let alone all the rest of the funding that goes into this work. I don't charge any money for anything I do, and neither does Bud Hopkins. So this is what I call a negative cash flow business. In other words, the money flows out of my bank account, and it does not come back.
Yeah.
Yes, I have books out there. Means nothing, believe me. As all writers know, only a select few actually make money on books that they publish.
Yeah.
So the fact is, though, that that to do this work, it takes a sacrifice on a lot of different levels, which is why there aren't a lot of people who do it.
Well,
it's difficult, it's sacrificial, and it's all downside.
But you still feel it's well, obviously it is a passion for you since you continued doing it, and I guess also that the findings that you're discovering is rewarding from both an intellectual point of view and the fact that something out of the ordinary is going on here, and do you feel that in that regard it's satisfying, so to speak? Do you feel that you're getting something out of it, and that you're learning, and that you guys who are doing it are progressing in one way?
Learning and progressing, yes. Is it satisfying? No. Do I like what I'm doing? No. Do I like this phenomenon? I hate it.
Really?
I used to love it. Yeah, I used to think it was really exciting and interesting, and maybe I was involved with, quote, contact, end quote. And of course, that's a nonsense concept. It is a concept that exists only in the fertile imagination of popular culture and scientists. It is not a concept in the abduction phenomenon. If people are abducted from the time they're infants all the way into old age, the concept of contact is just not there. There is no, you know what I mean? When people envision contact, they're envisioning landing in a public place, a spaceman coming out saying, "Take me to your leader."
Right.
The leaders meet. We're now a member of the community of planets or whatever it is, and they'll teach us how to stop war and cure cancer, whatever it is. There's contact, and
this is not the case.
It's just popular culture. That's what it is. But you're looking. This phenomenon is not like that at all. This phenomenon is extremely distressing to me, and it's something I've learned not to like, and I wish that the whole thing had never happened. And it's like I say, it's all downside. It's even more than I ever imagined.
Well, David, let's talk about it, and let's definitely go into it, and maybe you can describe for us a little bit what, from your perspective, and what you found, so to speak, in regards to the program that seems to be taking place here. It's not about contact, as you say; it's about something else. So, what is the agenda, and what is the red thread here, so to speak, that you have been following?
Well, I'm going to take up time giving you background on this so I don't have to talk that much about what I found later on. Um, One of the things that first began to puzzle UFO researchers early on in the 1950s was, why don't they land? If this is an extraterrestrial phenomenon, why don't they land on the White House lawn or appear on television or make some sort of grand display or something like that? And there were all sorts of theories about this. Well, we're a violent people. We like to kill other people. We shoot bullets at them, and they know that, and they don't want to get too close to us because we might kill them, and so that was the violent people theory.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a theory of, well, it's ethical non-interference. If they were to land and say, take me to a leader, there'd be mass disruption in our economic and social societies, in the sectors of the countries, of the economies in which we live and so forth. And it would be horrible, be terrible. And so they're not going to interfere. And that's good. They have our best interests at heart. That's why they're not landing. Then there were other theories about they're reconnoitering, they're going to land in the future, they're learning about the flora and the fauna first, and when they've learned enough, then they'll land, and it might be tomorrow, might be next year, but sooner or later. And there were more theories. We're just a way station on their way to somewhere else, All of these theories were based on absolutely no evidence whatsoever. Literally zero evidence. The only thing we knew was they weren't landing and saying, take me to your leader.
Right.
They were landing. We had lots and lots and lots and lots of landing cases, and we had these occupant cases from that we talked about before, and all that. But it wasn't taking the place in terms of an image that people had of contact, of how contact would come about. And towards the end, people began to lose faith in that. And then theories began to come out that, well, they're being seen at certain times. People see a UFO and then it's gone, And that's the reason that they're doing that is to condition us, to condition us so that when they do land eventually, we will be prepared for them because we know they're there, and they're doing it on a sort of a temperature type business. When things heat up, they stop being seen so much, and we see a lot.
Like an incremental, almost,
right.
We're getting acclimatized to them in a way, so to speak.
Exactly right. And Jacques Vallée and others came out with these theories and wrote books about them. Mm. That evidence was based on exactly nothing. There was no evidence for that whatsoever. Zero evidence for that. All we knew is that people saw UFOs from time to time. That's it.
Yeah.
There was some other things they threw in there. People said that they talked with aliens, and what they reported was absurd and didn't make any sense. And they were right. It was absurd and it didn't make sense. And there were other anomalies about the phenomenon that made no sense, along with them not landing. There was the whole idea of UFOs people would report that that a UFO would come down and swoop down on their car and sort of follow their car. They were chasing my car, they would say, but they would follow the car for a great distance, and the people would be panicked inside. And what the heck was that? That made no sense. What do you mean chasing your car or following your car? It was nonsensical. People would see UFOs on the side of the road, and they'd look out the window of their car and they'd pull over to the side of the road and get a better look at it, and then the thing would fly away. And every once in a while, somebody would report that they're paralyzed and they can't. And an occupant of a UFO would come out and that was landed nearby them and look them over very carefully and all that. And what was all that about? It made no sense either. And sometimes there'd be some sort of communication which made no sense. And so people began to devise theories about the absurdity of it all. And there was some sort of theory about how their kind of communication was very different than ours, and it seems absurd to us and all that, but it wasn't. That was based on false information. It wasn't based on no information, it was based on false evidence, as it turns out. In fact, virtually everything I just said in terms of chasing cars and getting out of the car and get a better look, all that was false.
Like lies made up, or what?
No.